Hello there, guys and girls. Yes, managed to get the tow bar on the back. I've just got to cut down the stainless bolts a little bit. They're sticking down a bit too far for my liking. But anyway, this is a little video on ignition systems on the Fiat. This is actually a Fiat Punto engine, 8 valve, but they have the Immobilizer system. I'm doing this video for a chap on Fiat Forum who's having a little trouble with his one, with the wiring issues. Now I'm hoping that I can explain to him how it all works. Let me pop the bonnet up a second. There we go. Alright, first of all, sorry for any wind noise. Now, let's pull all this stuff off. It just pulls off, it's only for show. I can try and show you my bodge of a code box. There we go, there's my code box. Right, as you can see here, my code box here, my ignition, my aerial and key from the original car, the Punto car, is just down here underneath all the soundproofing out the way. I've just literally taped the key to the inductive loop and that's it, no problem whatsoever. Right here you can see we've got some spaghetti of cables here. The cable here that I'm holding, it's a greyish whitish cable with a green stripe on it. That is your cable, which you already know goes to the ECU, pin number 7 I do believe. The white and blue cable I've got here, and it goes into the dashboard and it connects up to this light here, which I've just wired into an old RAF indicator light, which I can change the colours of if I want to, and even almost disable it completely. That light, when you put your key in your ignition, it probably won't do it now because I've got another Immobilizer on this car. Let me just put my key in my ignition here. Okay, so when I turn my ignition on, you'll see, that's it, I've just lifted my Immobilizer again. Right, so you'll see it's flashing now, so I'll put my key in the ignition, like this, and I'll turn my ignition on, and it lights up for a split second and then goes off completely. And I can hear all my fuel pumps priming. Now that tells me that my Immobilizer is now off. Obviously now I can, if it's out of gear, I can now start my engine and it will run, you know, until I turn the key. When I turn the key, it will start flashing again. Give it a second. I might have to it will flash, there you go, it starts flashing again. And then again, if I put my key in the ignition and turn the ignition on, it will read the key, then turn off again. Oh, okay, just to add here, I'm going to simulate what happens when the ignition key is not connected to the loop aerial. So if I take my code box and I unplug my loop aerial, like that, so now my loop aerial is not connected in, so it thinks the key's not there. Now when I try and start the engine, I'll put it to ignition mode and I'll show you what the code light does. It stays on solid. Now if I try and crank my engine, it will never fire, because the Immobilizer has never lifted. Now if I plug my loop aerial back in, where is it? I need two hands for this. I'll rest the camera on my knee. I plug the aerial back in again, like that. Right, and I turn my ignition off and back on again. It finds the key and instantly lifts the Immobilizer. And now my engine will fire up again. So it's just some things to look out for, just to see what, just to see if it will work. To lift that Immobilizer instead. But I can also use it as a demonstration purposes. There you go. Because now the engine won't crank over, although it'll still try to, but it won't crank it because that Immobilizer cuts not only my ignition coils and some other things, it also cuts off my starter solenoid. So if I say have my fan blowers on, I put my ignition key, you'll notice now it'll still flash because the actual immobilizer on this completely disables the ECU, this third-party immobilizer. So I will turn my ignition on. It makes this light go out completely, but none of my none of my fuel pumps are priming. There you go, the light's back on again now. Now you'll hear that my fans are running, but when I put it to the start position, it makes the fans turn off. That is because some ignition lives on this car will turn off temporary while the engine is cranking over. As soon as I let go of that, it all turns everything back on again. So on this particular car, this fuse here, fuse 15, the one I showed you, on this particular car, all Fiat Pandas are wired different sadly, but on this particular car, that fuse there stays live. For instance, it's got no power going to it now. Then when you turn the key now, it's got power to it, and when I turn the key to that position, which will be the engine starting position, that fuse remains live. But some ignition lives on some cars, that particular position turns off while the engine cranks. So you've got to make sure that the ignition live you tap into doesn't do that while it cranks, because obviously the ECU will think you've taken your key out of your ignition while you're cranking, because obviously the power goes away. Now under the bonnet, I don't know if I can show you much under the bonnet. It's a right maze of wires under here, because I've got a separate alarm system. As you can see, this is the 8-valve version of the engine, but some Fiat Puntos will use this relay system, and on this relay system you have to make sure that the two red tabs are pressed right in with the two things connected into it. And then of course you've got a little 25 amp fuse here which can sometimes corrode. You just have to take it out, put a bit of copper slip on it or a nail file, and just clean the connectors up and the fuse connectors as well. Push the fuse back in and it should be all fine and well. As you can see, I've got lovely fuel pumps here and all sorts. I've got two fuel pumps here to lift the fuel up from the tank, because I don't have an in-tank fuel pump on this car. And I've got another fuel pump in this thing, which is a swirl pot I made myself, to provide fuel pressure to the injectors. So as you can see, it's a right jiggery pokery system, but it works. I'm not sure. I don't know if your car used to be a carburetted car. If it was a carburetted car, you should have an ignition live wire here, a white with a red stripe on it, or a white wire, and that wire used to go to your carburetor. Now you can, if you've got that wire, tap into that, and that will double up as an ignition live wire. That ignition live wire stays live while you are cranking. It has to stay alive while you're cranking. It's a very good wire to tap into. You see, on this car, with it having an old coil pack, most of the wires, wherever they've all disappeared to, oh, they're not here anymore because I routed it underneath the airbox, but most of the cables on this car to the ignition live actually came from the original coil pack. So my ECU, which sits under here, gets its ignition live from the coil pack, I do believe now. Or does it get it from the key? I can't remember now myself. Oh dear. But whatever. There you can see my third-party alarm system there, and that just sits in there and does its thing. Hope it'll never get wet, because there'll be a bugger. I won't be able to unlock my car. But yes, as you can see, it's a right jiggery pokery system. But it all works. What else can I show you? What else can I tell you? I don't know. I just hope this helps you out, because I know you're really struggling there. Another thing as well is to make sure that everything on your ignition is earthed. All of your ECU, all the black cables on your ECU need to be earthed. There are also some earthing points on the engine, and if you've not earthed those, your sensors won't work properly. On this particular engine, the crank position sensor is down there. I don't know if you can see that very well. Oh, you can now. So that one I'm zoomed into there is the crank position sensor. Make sure that is connected in, and it plugs in on this engine here. And it's just a 3-pin plug. You got to make sure that's plugged in, otherwise it won't pick up any. Well, it won't tell the ignition system when to fire the sparks. I assume you've got the twin spark system like what this uses. In terms of engine, thingies, I'm pretty sure that they almost use the same ECU setup. I know yours is a 16F and I use the 8F ECU, but in all fairness, they about run the same. Probably the only difference would be is that the injectors on your one run sequentially. Actually, I don't think yours do. I think yours run the same as mine in batch, which means all the injectors fire at the same time and then the valve opens when it needs to. Yeah, that's technical, but it's stuff you shouldn't have to worry about anyway. Just make sure that everything's got a good earth. Another thing as well, I suppose, is that in these cables here you will have a brown and white wire. Now that wire should go live when you turn your ignition key, and it lifts the immobilizer. That wire should go live, and when that wire goes live, it should lift your immobilizer, because that's the wire that controls your fuel pumps and things. Yeah. So when you do that, hopefully it should all fire up and run great. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope this has helped you out. Catch you on the forum.